Hello again, my thought for the day. You know, you hear all these horror stories and not so horror stories about living here in the Philippines. I've been here now almost 10 years now, and during that period of time, I've experienced a few horror stories myself. We hear of people where the wife, the girlfriend might threaten you with a knife, might give you a whack around the ear, maybe even give you a punch if you didn't stand quite so close. But that's probably the least of our worries. But what many of you will have come across, and that is tales of the heart that involve money. You know, I have a friend in England at the moment who clearly has had a few ups and downs in his life too. He's been to the Philippines, I think about 6 or 8 times now. And on each occasion, he's attempted to create a relationship. God loves a try, don't they? But each time there's been something that's missing, something gone amiss. And like he said to me, John, if I had a dollar for all the hundreds and hundreds of pounds that I've been giving out to these women, I said, don't tell me any more. I know what you mean, Greg. And the point is that Greg has got a big heart. I wouldn't say he's necessarily got a big wallet, but he's a sucker for a soft story. He's had so many relationships that have ended up with him sending literally maybe as much as half of his own income every month to the Philippines, to these young ladies that promise him the world and in the end don't necessarily come through. I recall a time he told me that I think it was attempt number 4. My goodness, Greg, you'll never learn. But anyway, he obviously got money to spend on the airlines, and the airlines are probably happy to see him almost as a frequent flyer. But he gets on the plane, gets off at, I think it was Angeles City. Yes, I think it was Clark Airport. So he flew into Clark. And I believe he had a brother or somebody in America, and that's the reason he came via that side of the world first. So he arrived. Of course, she was there to greet him, and the relationship followed many, many months of talking to her through the night, enjoying her company, what seemed a perfect match after all of the failed attempts before. And when you look at it like that, how many of you have done that? How many of you have come here, thought that it was going to work out just based on the first few weeks? Of course, that's foolish for us ever to think that. After all, just like yourself and like Greg, you put the best foot forward, just like she did. I can't remember what her name was, but it doesn't really matter because best maybe not said. But the reality is that the essence of what I'm saying is that he thought everything was going fine. He was talking about marriage and talking about building or buying a home. I think even talking about setting her up in some kind of business. That classic one, sari store. Goodbye money. My goodness, guys, do not invest in a sari store. They are a magnet for members of the family, including her family often, who will come across to visit you knowing that there's free tucker in the tuck shop, so to speak. And you don't make money giving it out the back door. So therefore, it's not a good idea to get into that as a business. There are other businesses that many try, and that's like laundry businesses, coffee shops, bars. None of them really work. None of them generally work unless you're on a long-term visa, like a permanent resident, are able to work and prepared to be, I suppose, the front man, or certainly on job every day. But do we really give up our lives to carry on work here in the Philippines? I don't think so. The idea of retirement here is just to do that, retire, take it easy, start enjoying some of the things you haven't been able to do. But for Greg, sure enough, he went ahead, did all of those things. And of course, she knew everybody in town. Small town, but she knew everyone. Everybody and every man and his dog was a cousin, a relative of some shape or form. And the trouble with that is that one could agree that a lot of the people around her in the homes nearby are more than likely related to her, especially if she was brought up in the area, because there's a lot of intermarrying between different members of the family, maybe distant members, but they're still nevertheless related in some way or another, maybe from an uncle or a grandfather. And of course, you don't know who you're inviting into your home. Is it an old boyfriend? Is it an old lover? Is it the ex-husband? You don't know. And that's the whole point. She's not necessarily going to tell you the whole story of her life. She'll want to know what you've been up to. She'll be gathering that information so that if ever she needs to, she can bring it up again. Oh, they love to do that. They love to bring things up about your past. Best way is to keep it shut. Be very vague. Don't be so keen and eager. It's a bit like, don't be so keen to talk about your wonderful investments you've got in your 401 or your superannuation fund back in Australia or New Zealand. Try not to draw a great big picture. Sure, make sure that when you're sure that she's the right one and you've had plenty of years up in wherever, in Luzon or down there in Mindanao or Cebu, that you now are prepared to discuss when you die. Of course, they'll hate you to do that. They seem to not like you talking about that subject, and yet it's an important part of our lives. It's making sure that everything that you do is taken care of, that you're spending the time to make sure the files, all the numbers, all the account numbers, who to contact, how to contact. And once you've done that, of course, it's peace of mind from your point of view. But just imagine you've done all that, like he did. Good on Greg, he was so well organised. And what happened? She ran off back to her husband. Yes, husband. She was actually married. She told him that they were separated and that they'd never been married. But in actual fact, they were married. And yes, they were separated only by a few kilometres apart. But he later discovered that it was all part of a big picture scam, and that she'd actually been doing this with the help of her husband to attract the uninitiated foreigner. And she'd done it about 6 times. And he could never understand quite how she had acquired all the assets that she had. Now, of course, when he decided to build a house with her, he wasn't aware that she had all these other homes as well. From victim number 1, victim number 3, and there was a small portfolio of properties. And she did it as a living. And he had absolutely no clue about that. Now that's a dreadful thing to have gone through. First of all for himself. But imagine being the Filipino or the Filipina that knew that they were doing that and ended up doing it to another one. I mean, when will she wake up and say, that's enough, darling? I think we've acquired enough wealth. We can stop conning all these foreigners. But unfortunately, these stories do happen, and they're dreadful. You know, we accrue a certain amount of money over our lifetime, and we feel proud that we put aside enough to achieve a good retirement, and to, in a sense, be tripped or tricked out of that by some beautiful Filipino promising you the world is a dreadful event, and it can be soul destroying. I mean, for Greg, he went back, I think he said that particular lady, I think he said for 9 months. So he took 9 months to get over it, to get to his point where he could then maybe rediscover someone better. But here we are at number 3, and he had another 2 more to go. Luckily, he didn't build another house. Luckily, he only lost, I think, a car on one and a scooter on the other. But there's a pattern here. The pattern is that he didn't learn the first time. And that's the message that I'm getting, you know, like, make a mistake once, yes. Make a mistake twice, Make a mistake 3 or 4 times, you really are doing something wrong, and you've got to step back and say to yourself, what am I doing wrong? And you have to face that reality yourself, because if you can't see where you've made the mistake, you're just going to keep repeating it each time. I must say that now he's got to woman number 6. Woman number 6, he said. Yes, woman number 6. As I said, God always loves a trier. And the thing is that he seems to have hit the jackpot this time. She's a charming lady. I've seen her, and I've actually spoken with her online now that he's in the Philippines. He's actually in the Philippines. He's down near Tagaytay, I think they call it, near the volcano. And she has her own home. She is a dentist, and she's successful in her business. He literally says he's never had to pay a cent, a pound, out since he's been here. He feels dreadful because he feels that he should be paying at least half of what's going out. But she refuses to do that. She said she didn't marry him for his money, even though he hasn't very much left now. But she married him because she found him to be her soulmate. And he's had difficulty believing that it's all happened for him, but it has. And here we are, what's it now? It's nearly a year now since he last came back to the Philippines. And he seems to be going full pelt. Everything's going really well, and he's fitting in. He's been renovating the premises for which she operates her business from, which she again also owns. But he's been smartening up the outside and making the entry look more modern version, and she's no doubt happy that he's done that. But it does show you that even after all those attempts, you can actually find the right one. But it does take time. And the emphasis really is, don't be so eager to be showing yourself as desperate. There's no reason for us to feel desperate. Why should you feel desperate to find somebody in your life? It's going to happen or it's not. It's just simply one of those things that nature will provide or it won't. If, like I said to him, if you're happy with yourself, Greg, then it doesn't matter who or what happens around you, because you're self-sufficient. You're able to find peace and harmony in yourself. He now has got himself into a routine, I think he said they're up at 4 every morning. Up at 4, they go off for a jog around the neighbourhood, literally a jog. He's only, what does he say, 65, I think, or 66. No, he must be 66, because he's getting an English pension now. So, there's no talk. She doesn't want to be married. She's never been married before. She lived with a man. She had 2 lovely children, apparently, who've all been self-sufficient. One's actually a dentist too. And they're having a lovely time. She drives him around everywhere in a BMW SUV. So she certainly got some money behind her. And he seems to have landed on his feet. But it took him 5 other times, and a lot of heartbreak and a lot of money. So guys, don't be put off about coming to the Philippines. The odds of finding someone you're looking for are still here, but it just takes a little longer. 10 years ago, it was a lot simpler. Now it's a little bit more choosy. They're being a bit more choosy. There's not so many of the guys coming over and grabbing the first 18 to 20-year-old to put on their arm whilst they're hitting the 70 mark. So, guys, don't be put off. Just remember that it will take time, and there is hope. There's hope over the hill. So, be encouraged, be energized by the idea that if you're prepared to stick it out, after all, in a way, when we all come here, it should be in the mind that there should be no going back. After all, this is your last chance, your last hurrah, a chance to finally put the things straight and have a wonderful, enjoyable and happy retirement. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh wow, we got to 9,000 subscribers on British Expat, and I think we're heading for 2,100 on Grumpy. So thank you very, very much for joining. We have over 1 million now, back to over 1 million views on British Expat, and getting up high on Grumpy as well. Grumpy is not monetarised. British Expat remains monetarised, and I'm not too worried because it's going. What money does get generated by the ads are going to support my ex's daughter through her college, which she hopefully will be graduating this July. So that will be great for her and the family, I'm sure. So you have a lovely night. I hope you've had a pleasant day today, and we'll catch you all later. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.